sausage on demand. Oatcake Dan, Oatcake Dan, Oatcake Dan, and his sizzling pan. Lying on the griddle, it's melted in the middle. Can you put us half a dozen in a bag?
You are now listening to Tallboy Radio.
Welcome back to episode 325 of the Tallboy Radio podcast. And I think the more astute of you there will have picked up that wasn't our usual song. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. But before I do, I need to say hello to the man who's on my left.
Evening all, evening the world. I hope you're all well out there in listener land. Yeah, looking forward to this episode. I say that quite a lot. It's always fantastic when we have guests on, and again, I say that a lot, and genuinely it is. We genuinely appreciate people sort of giving up their time to come onto our podcast. So yeah, looking forward to this and can't wait to get into it.
Indeed. And we've covered people with our guests from all over the world. Today, it's from just up the road. Dan, did you want to say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Dan, Oatcake Dan, that you'll probably know me as more regularly recently anyway, especially with the takeoff of the videos. I run Kidsgrove Oatcakes in Kidsgrove, obviously. Yeah.
That's it, dude. So yeah, so I came across your videos, as you just mentioned there, on, I believe it was Facebook, could have been Instagram. The two do sort of mingle into each other. So First of all, before let's forget the videos. Let's tell us a little bit about that piece of music that we just heard.
So I can't claim credit for the production of the music whatsoever. We've got a guy, that's our content creator, Reese, who comes up with all the magic. And as you can tell by listening to it, it is some serious work. I'd never be able to come up with anything like that myself. And he's getting a bit of a back catalogue as well. It's not just me he's written them for. He's written one for Jake, who's the manager, Oatcake Jake. So I don't know if you've heard that one, but he's getting another one for the team leader. So he's a very, very talented fellow in terms of a musician.
He is. I mean, it's obviously based on the Postman Pat theme. If you're based outside the UK, you might know that TV show. But no, I tell you what, the lad's got talent.
Oh yeah, we've done a radio jingle as well. So we've currently got an advert on Silk FM, which does cover the Cheshire area actually. And that is, again, tapping into that familiar tune. Obviously, because you're after a recognisable, repeatable tune that people can remember. So he's clever with the way he does it as well. Obviously, Postman Pat, everybody knows it. And the amount of people that we get coming in the shop humming the tune or singing the tune proves that point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I was sticking the tune over the top of our credits the other night, and the wife was in the room as well. And then the next morning, she was whistling Postman. Why, Mummy?
Never heard that. I must have heard that. Where's that from?
Yeah.
But that just goes to show how good it is and how effective it is. You know, something gets in your head, and then you say, "Oh my God, I've got that song in my head," and it's just with you all day. And I say, if you can make something that is recognizable and then individual at the same time, then hey, happy days.
100%.
Reese was talking about it. It's like a marketing tactic. If you can get your customer audibly speaking along to something that you've created, that has a much more powerful impact on the customer, much more powerful than them remembering and wanting them to come and try you. And since we've started the online, it's difficult to actually pinpoint but obviously online is the online presence is having a massive impact on the shop. That would probably be the biggest factor. Obviously you've got other things that help along the way, but yeah, the impact it has had is, it's like I say, it's arguably immeasurable.
That's fair play, that is. And to be fair, I think one of the things that we probably learned during, those COVID years that we don't like to talk about, is that local businesses have to be quite smart about how they attract and keep their customers in the face of, the larger companies. Because let's face it, you can go into a supermarket and you can pick yourself up a pack of oatcakes. Now, I was in your shop on Saturday, And I picked myself up 36. Believe it or not, I've got through pretty much all of them. And I picked up, the pack to make my own as well, which I have here in my hands if you watch the video. And I'm looking forward to making the balls of that when I have a go at it.
Just a quick question. I mean, Adam obviously mentioned the sort of the dry oatcake mix. I mean, I love oatcakes. I eat them all the time, and they are incredible. Every single person that makes an oatcake says, "Oh, we've got a secret ingredient," and I don't know. It's like me grandmother's twice removed sort of thing, and it's a family recipe, and I'm not going to tell anybody what it is. Come on, you must have a secret recipe. You can sort of secret ingredient. Come on, spill the beans.
I don't think the secret is the ingredients. I think the secret is more the method. So how long you've let your mix stand for before you come to use it, them sorts of things. How long your mix is fermented for, what time you add your yeast to the mix before you're going to. There's them sorts of temperature.
Right.
Temperature is a massively important one. So most people presume us as a business in food that you're busier during the summer and quieter during the winter. It's not really the case with oatcakes. Oatcakes don't deal well with warm. So if it's 25 degrees and you're keeping your oatcakes on the kitchen side, they're going to last half the time. They're going to go off quicker than bread, stuff like that. And all this is an impact during the process of making them as well. I'm not saying I'm an expert. Obviously, I've only got experience of one place, so I can't speak for other people. But obviously, there's lots of success of different variations as well. So that does make me think, are the variations actually that far apart from each other? In some cases, I'm not sure. But obviously, there is clear differences in taste, textures, sizing, all this sorts of stuff. Because I don't know if you saw there was a guy called Neil Fuller who went around doing oatcake. He reviewed every oatcake shop, basically. So that list there tells you of the variation that you can come across. But in terms, I know we're vegan friendly, for example. We've got no milk in ours. And I also know some places use milk. So there can be differences in the ingredients. But in terms of secrets, I honestly think it's the process that's going on. Storage as well. How quick you're cooling them down, all this sorts of stuff.
Right. It sounds like there's a lot more to going into it than
I tell you,
just mixing some up and away you go.
It's easy to make oatcakes, but it's not easy to make consistently good oatcakes. Like it can go wrong pretty easily. Add a bit too much water, and you can be struggling. You really can.
But a minute to learn, a lifetime to master.
True. Very true. Well, I watched quite a few videos on YouTube just to understand a little bit about the process behind making them. And I even watched some guy who does his own cooking tutorials, and he had a go at doing it. And he made a grand mess of it. And he admitted himself it's not an easy process. It seems like a fairly straightforward product. But there's a slight, as we're just learning from Dan, there's a science.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
My guess for that fella, just off the top of my head, would be the temperature of his pan. If your pan's not hot enough, you're just going to have a sticky, blobby, horrible mess, really. Not going to be able to flip it. It's going to stick to the pan. That would be my guess. That's usually the mistake people make when they make their own at first time. So make sure your pan's hot enough when you get the dry mix on the go.
Make sure you get it. Make sure you get it right then, dude.
And then you can flick a little bit of water in there, and if the water marbles in the pan, that's what you want. That's the effect you're after.
I tell you what, there's some people, we pride ourselves on being an educational podcast. When we're learning something, our listeners are learning something.
That's one of the main reasons that we do it. And I've said it on previous podcasts, I love doing a podcast because we learn so much about so many different things. And genuinely, it's my naive mind, effectively, it was sort your mix out and then whack it in a pan, and it's a bit like a pancake, and away you go, sort of thing.
I think you've got less curiosity about an oatcake because you're so embedded into it, though. Because it's the Stoke culture, you don't really overthink it. An oatcake. We get an oatcake for breakfast. You don't really think about the process that's gone through it until you find out. Hold on a minute, no one else knows about oatcakes. That is crazy for me. That's the goal I set when I moved into the shop, was just to creep into another area so that we can share the delight that we've got. And that is the idea of the radio advert, actually. That creeps into the Stockport area And if we can start spreading the word slightly, bear with me, I've just got to let the dog out. You know how it goes.
You know, that's interesting, funny enough, because we have one of our regular hosts. I say regular; he's not very regular at all. He's not been on the podcast in, I was going to say months. He's probably
Just probably a year now.
Yeah. Well, he lives in the Stockport area, so we'll have to speak to him, see if he comes across it. I don't know how much he listens to the radio, to be fair, but
Yeah, obviously it's a specific radio station as well. And
Yeah.
we're in the experimenting stages of which time slot to have the actual advert on in the day, because like I say, I'm learning as I'm going. I'm not an expert on this and marketing and advertising and all that, but my idea was capture people on the way to work. So that's half-6 slot, that sort of time, basically.
Yeah.
That's something that we could,
oh, go on. Sorry, Dan.
that is something then we could look to increase slots throughout the day if we see success from the advert. It's like more of a trial and error thing at the moment.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I say, in a way, there's loads of stories about sort of marketing campaigns and unsuccessful ones, and then successful ones. It is a bit of trial and error, I suppose, until you find that little niche time that sort of hits the sweet spot. I was going to ask you mentioned about sort of getting into sort of Stockport, and then Stockport is on the boundaries of Manchester, and obviously Manchester, big city, and so on and so on, and from small acorns large oaks grow, or whatever the phrase is. Was that close? It was good anyway. And I was just thinking, what is the ambition? What is the goal? And do you face any sort of local competition? Because obviously lots of people understand oatcakes to be lots of different things. So if you're going into Manchester, they might not know an oatcake as we know it. They might call, I don't know, a stotty an oatcake, or whatever it may be. Are there lots of regional dishes that people think are an oatcake but actually aren't? So
I was actually looking into this, and in Yorkshire there was something called a havercake. Now, a havercake to me sounds, from the ingredients, the way they make it, sounds like an oatcake, and it's something that kind of died out there about 100 years ago. Okay. But if there's a prior history in these places, what's not to say that you can't bring it back? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So obviously you're never going to sell an oatcake, but if an oatcake is a havercake, then you have it. Do you want this sort of? So it's obviously you've got Derbyshire oatcakes, which not far off on the ingredients wise, I believe. They're just a little thicker. But again, I've not looked too much into them to speak real confidently about that.
Yeah.
No, I must admit, I looked into it a little bit myself. So yeah, that's what I had. Those are what I'd heard. Funnily enough, we had on the podcast a while ago, we had two Americans who have a quiz, hold up the glass there, designated quizzes, and we were one of the teams, and the other team was a bunch of ladies from Scotland, and they asked us questions on food and local delicacies. And they asked a question about oatcakes, which caused absolute chaos.
What was that question? I'd be interested to know, actually.
I forget, but an oatcake is a very different thing in Scotland. I know that.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
It's more like a biscuit, isn't it, in Scotland?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were trying to, from memory, through some vague recollection, post gin and beer and everything else. It was, again, we were trying to figure out what the definition of an oatcake was, because actually I don't know what the definition of an oatcake is, because obviously so many different people in so many parts of the country understand it to be so many different things, and there's something down south, and it almost looks like, I want to say like a sort of like a scone. It's like a big scone, and they were calling that like an oat cake because it was cakey and made of oats, and it was like, but it isn't an oat cake, if that makes sense, Dan. So but I think Beans is right. It did cause chaos, controversy.
Well, if that's the case, though, this is the way I think now. That's just a potential video idea for us. So we go around, we get every single variation of what is an oatcake, and we try them and we rank them. Obviously, Kidsgrove Oatcakes go to the top.
Absolutely, always.
From second onwards, there can be a competition, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it'd just be interesting. And again, with my old sort of business hat on and marketing back in the day, it was. There's lots of things that you could do just in terms of what people's perceptions are, and the not the local dialect, but the locality of where you are what do you understand by an oatcake? And if somebody said to you oatcake, what would you envisage? And there's lots of things you could do sort of nationally, regionally about that. And it'd be really interesting because, as you mentioned, somebody in Yorkshire, somebody in Derbyshire probably would know what an oatcake is, but somebody down in London maybe wouldn't. The southeast, the southwest, they wouldn't know that. So it'd be interesting to know regionally what people thought.
Well, we had an idea last summer. That's when we come up with the idea, and we're probably going to run it this summer. It's a content idea, but so we're thinking about trying a slightly longer format content. But because I like in my normal life, let's say outside of work, going out, walks, adventures, that sorts of stuff. So basically, take my backpack, have a camping stove, multiple packs of oatcakes, go with the content creator. We keep walking. We speak to people along the way. We have an oatcake with them, speak to them about their history of oatcakes, and we keep walking until we meet somebody who doesn't know what an oatcake is. And I reckon you could probably go 20 miles, something like that, 25 mile on the edge of Stockport before somebody doesn't know what one is.
Wow.
And I think that's a real good, solid content idea.
I like it.
I like
it fits in with what I like doing outside of work. It fits in with content for work. And it's the thing, we've got ideas of, these are beyond ideas, they're getting into plans of going to Manchester, doing a similar thing, just basically sitting there with a little camping stove, little stall, and giving them out for free, just to get, so people can start understanding what they are. Because like I say, without knowledge, you've got nothing really. People aren't going to buy into something that they don't know anything about. They might try it once at a store when it's being given out for free, but they're not going to continuously look for that product online. So we've got to somehow get it out there and keep it out there to gain enough interest. And it's, people must have tried it before me. I'm not the first one to think of this. How long have oatcake's been going? It's hundreds of years. So I'm definitely, and obviously you look at the bigger companies, Povies, for example, they're in Aldi. They've nailed the supermarket. I'd be interested to see how far of a circumference they've actually managed to push it, where the interest fades, if that makes sense.
Yeah, within the Aldi stores, you mean? So
within the Aldi.
Yeah, so obviously locally within Stoke Staffordshire, in the Aldi stores, they might be in there, but actually the Aldi stores elsewhere, they might not, and they would have more food stuff.
And I'm friendly with Alex. I don't see it as, we're all in it. We've all do the same thing. Do you know what I mean? We've all probably got very similar ideas, so I don't really see it as rivals. If anything, you can help each other. And I know there has been a lot of rivalry and that sort of thing in the past, but I'm one of them that worries about, I don't really worry too much about anyone else's business. I've got enough of my own problems to worry about without delving into others. But that's the idea, that's the aim, I suppose, to, I wouldn't say break into somewhere else, to get the oatcake adored in another part of the country, that so it can take off like it does here. Like I say, it's never been done before, but that doesn't mean it can't not be done.
100%. I admire your ambition, I really do, because there are products that broke into market, that were known in little parts of the world that suddenly became popular everywhere. And the one thing that Stokies do love is an oatcake. When my dad lived in India and I'd go out and stay with him, he wasn't interested in anything else that I could bring.
Yeah,
just make sure you bring some oatcakes with you. That's he's Stokey through and through.
Oh, there's stories I've got. The friends living out in the Middle East, although they might be back over here actually because of what's going on over there. But they're in the Middle East and
bad example, that one.
Yeah, bad example. But there's people in New Zealand. I know people in New Zealand. Know people in Australia. And whenever they come back, it's like, we've got to take some oatcakes. We've got make sure we take some oatcakes. And even the university culture where you'll have Stokies that go away to university where length and breadth of the country. It's like, no, gotta have some oatcakes. And then it's like, all your sort of friends are like, well, what are they? Oh, they're an oatcake. Well, what's that? And then obviously then become educated with it.
We've noticed that from his online shop though, because we set up an online shop around June, July. We're probably touching nearly 500 sales on that so far, which is pretty good for us. Like, because we're still a small outfit. We're running from one building.
Yeah.
That we work a lot of hours in the day within that building, because we've got some pretty big, like we've got Stoke covered because we've got a contract with Wright's Pies. So we're in 25 different stores across Stoke-on-Trent. So
Nice.
we've got a pretty big, solid imprint there. And then we've other shops and cafes and farm shops and Nantwich, Holmes Chapel, these sorts of places. So we do pretty well for getting them out there. And like I say, the online shop, we cover the whole country. Like there's not one part of the country we've not sent them to so far. We've also sent quite a few international shipments as well. The actual biggest package I've ever sent out was to Australia. She paid the same amount in her shipping cost as she did for the cost of the product because of the weight was that much.
Wow.
Wow.
You must love her oatcakes.
That's what I mean. So that's quite funny actually, because it started off she wanted to buy one pack for her husband who hasn't had them for years, and I was explaining that it's very difficult to send a small amount to Australia because the delivery is that expensive. And then when she wanted to do her bank transfer to pay us, the bank wouldn't let us send less than 500 Australian dollars. So I thought, okay, that deal's over. And she said, no, I'll just buy $500 worth. Yeah.
A lot of bloody oatcakes.
No.
Yeah, but what you don't know is that she spent $500 worth of oatcakes. She's got nice little oatcake stall out there in Australia.
Yeah. Oatcake supply for life.
That's it. Absolutely. Yeah.
That was the dry mix.
That's it. I said, we're there.
500 Australian dollars worth of oatcakes.
Yeah,
that's a lot of oatcakes.
Yeah. It's about 250 quid's worth in our money, I think.
She got a job lot of bacon and a job lot of sausages. She's selling them. That's guarantee that's what she's doing.
Fair play to her. I picked some up on Saturday, and I got to tell you, dude, I'm not just saying it because you're on the podcast. They are good oatcakes. I tell you what, they are.
We
good
appreciate
oatcakes.
that. Yeah, we do appreciate that.
Spot on. And the first thing I always do when I buy a pack of oatcakes, I just have one straight out of the bag, just the same as ways my old man did.
Just cold?
Cold, just straight out of the bag as it is.
No way.
Yeah, I love them.
You feeling right?
Well,
we don't get that very often.
I've done a lot of stranger things. Yeah, no, I do. But because, it's the same with anything. I don't know about you when you're cooking, obviously certain meats, you can't eat while it's raw, but I like to taste the ingredients while I'm putting them in. You know what I mean? So
okay, yeah.
So we brought it back, and I wanted to taste what the oatcake tastes like before I put it, or what have you on it. Yeah.
Okay. No, I get that. Good question. Go on, Dan. Sorry.
No, that's an interesting angle actually. I mean, I've not thought about it because, like I say, you're getting most of the cheese and the bacon. I am anyway when I have cheese and bacon daily. But I've not eaten one of ours just on its own. I'd have to eat it warm, I think. I don't think I'd be able to have it cold.
I mean, honestly, you get the real flavour for it. And I tell you, it's tasty. It's a tasty oatcake. Honestly, dude, try it.
Nah.
Did you have warm food as well?
Did I what? Sorry.
Did you have hot food as well when you came?
Yeah. So I picked up some oatcakes, picked up a pork pie, because I love a pork pie as well, by the way. And
pork pie and an oatcake.
Yeah, there's a reason why I'm borderline obese. And picked up the dry mix, and me and my daughter had a cheese and bacon oatcake while we were there, and she had a can of Fanta, which took about 4 minutes.
You see, it was me that served you. It definitely was. I can remember that order. It was me.
I thought it was you.
It definitely was. Brilliant. And I am rushing it when we're busy. I kind of like setting I'm a bit of a rusher around her anyway. I like doing things fast. I don't know about you guguys.
No, well, I mean, that speaks for a business that it's busy. So I arrived just as you opened up 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I think it was.
Yeah.
There's people queuing outside.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's great. And that's testament to, if you excuse the expression, sort of the fan base almost that you've built up, is that actually people, it's become part of their daily or their morning routine or their weekend routine or whatever. It's right. What we're going to do is we're going to go and pick up some oatcakes. We're going to go and it becomes just part of that routine, and it's that repeat sale that I suppose you're after, because
a loyal customer base.
Yeah, absolutely. The loyal customer, the returning customer is what every business wants, and you'll get your sort of footfall through for people visiting and so on, but it's those regular loyal customers that you want. And it's amazing to hear that even before you're opening, you've got people sort of queuing outside waiting for them. I mean, that's incredible, and again, testament to not only the power of the marketing, but actually the power of the product, because ultimately, if your product's shit, then people aren't going to come back. But if your product's pretty decent,
that is true. And like I say, we get people who will openly tell us we used to go here, but we've tried you, and now we come back and we're sticking with you because you are better than such and such. Which it's really nice to hear. It really is. Like I say, it's testament to the hard work. It's proof that it's working. Which, don't get me wrong, there's no guarantee of success in the future. But if you keep doing the right things and have a structure in place that allows you to do that, you'll succeed if you want to. That's the mindset I have of things anyway. You've got to want to succeed for it to happen, really.
Lots of people, without knowing really what an oatcake was, would say, oh, is it like a pancake type thing? Because that's what you would assume when you talk to them about the, would you have, and is there a market, and again, excuse my ignorance if there is there a market for sweet some fillings on oatcakes, or is it more savoury,
we had a little series running when we were doing videos, and we were just trying silly things on top of oatcakes. We did try bananas and custard and mackerel and tuna and that sort of stuff. And the best one, was Nutella by an absolute mile.
Wow,
that was
really?
Actually really, really nice. And it's something you could bring that in as a product 100%. That would probably, like children, it would work well with them. But then you could have it as a dessert as well. So I'm having some ideas. I don't want to give too much away of like an afternoon shift, but oatcakes, but with varied fillings that you wouldn't usually expect. So spaghetti bolognese, curry, these sorts of things, and then having a side menu of Nutella, ice cream,
nice.
To try it, because how can you say these things don't work if you don't try them?
Yeah. We do have a habit on our podcast of sort of
like eating a cold oatcake. You got to try.
Yeah, well,
we
exactly
do have
that.
We have a habit of sort of getting people that sort of business owners of sort of telling us what's coming without really them wanting to, but we sort of tease it out of them, and it's just not a throwaway comment really, because again, you'll see and hear people sort of saying, "Oh, I'm more of a sweet or a savoury, or I'm more of a savoury or a sweet," and I wonder, is there a distinction, and does a sweet oatcake work like you would have a sweet pancake or you have a savoury pancake? Does that work, and is that something that obviously you guys have been thinking about, but clearly you have?
So like I say, it was more of a tapping into, because we noticed very early on that the silly videos, the ones that have got a little bit of humour, where I'm quite self-depreciating, I don't mind making a bit of a fool out of myself. So at first that was awkward, though, I will be honest. I wasn't very comfortable with it at first, but then as soon as you see, oh, hold on a minute, this works, you get much more comfortable with doing it. So that started from that. And like I say, that was really, out of all the things that we trialed, that was the only one that was success, the Nutella. But again, you could easily then tap into other items that would bring in a successful product. Because like I say, the dessert market's blown up over the last couple of years, dessert takeaways, milkshakes and waffles and crepes and these sorts of things. What's not to say you can use the items that they put on their product on top of an oatcake. And that's know until we try it.
You've got your Nutella and crepes, and then you've got your Nutella and your waffles and stuff. So that's where I was going really, was, is there a market for that? And I know that as I say, that there's shops out there that will do, effectively, it's not an oatcake restaurant as such, but part of the, main part of the menu is, I won't say the name, but I can think of, because, I don't want to give other people sort of advertising stuff, but, there's a place you can go, and it becomes it's a sit down. You can have it as a takeaway, but it's like a sit down. Actually, the menu restaurant.
It's an experience, isn't it? That's what the side that they're tapping into. Come and see what an oatcake is all about, but obviously you can have extras as well. That's a good idea, and I've been there, and I thought it was all right. Don't get me wrong, it was about 10 years ago, but I thought it was pretty good, to be fair. But that's, like I say, I don't overly worry about too much about other people, so that could be an idea that will be perceived of being stolen off somebody else, but there's no intention of that sort of stuff ever, if that makes sense. And
there is slightly different sort of niche market. They're after slightly different sort of clientele, supposing you, in a way, because you're offering two different things, so you're not really in direct competition, if that makes sense. But
Well,
It was just
like I said,
where you were going with it, really.
yeah, like I say, it's the product is similar, but the experience is very different.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Nice one. So we've heard a little bit about your products. We've heard a little bit about your shop. We'll probably get back to that again shortly. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you find yourself making oatcakes for a living, and
So
and social media?
Oatcakes for me first started. Let me get this timeline right now. So I worked at Hamilton's Oatcakes, which is actually the closest competitor to us. But again, I'm very friendly with them. I don't see it as that sort of thing. So I started there. That was under their previous owner though, Daz Hamilton, famous darts player brother Andy. I don't know if you've heard of
I
him.
know Daz.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That,
sorry, no, I know of Daz. I know his brother
Yeah.
Andy more so,
Yeah.
but I know of Daz. I played darts against Daz.
Daz is great. Yeah, he's friends with me parents and stuff like that. So as I mentioned earlier, I did a little bit of match betting. That before the pod, I mentioned that I did a little bit of match betting, and that was working from home. And I needed to basically get out the house and have a social side of things, because that was working from home for a long term is not good for you.
Yeah.
So I went out and just got a part-time job, basically just to keep myself busier. Then COVID struck, so that working from home was forced for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
But then, soon as things started slightly normalising, I just messaged the owner of Kidsgrove Oatcakes at the time, a guy called Chris, just seeing if he had any part-time jobs available, and that's how it started. Me going into a Kidsgrove Oatcakes. Now, I don't want to give too loads away, but when I first went in there, he knew I worked at an oatcake shop previously. On the first day, I was offered to buy the business, and that was a bit of a red flag to me. I was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Then to be offered that straight away. So my mindset at first was just to stay here as a worker and just see what the lay of the land is like, because that was I didn't really. So yeah, I worked there 1-2 years, and then that question came up again, but more seriously. Then obviously I've had a couple of years experience there. I'd worked in kitchens when I was younger, from when I was 16, starting off at a pot wash, and then by the time I was 19, I was second chef at Cherry Tree in Newcastle. I don't know if you know there, on the
I know it.
A34.
Yeah.
So yeah, that and I was fairly young then, so I built up I didn't know it at the time, and I didn't realise it at the time, but what I was building up was vital experience to help me in the future.
Yeah.
Because prior to COVID and prior to the match betting and the oatcake shops, I just worked in warehouses for 10 years, driving a forklift, nothing job really, going nowhere with it. And I'm someone who isn't afraid to take a risk, but I've taken risks in the past and they've not worked. So like I've moved to Holland to work in the airport. That wasn't what it was led out to be. Moved to Chesterfield and these sorts of places to try and better myself, and it never really never worked in that way at the time. Then come back, like I say, I've working in a warehouse and realised the whole match betting scenario, and then I thought I've cracked it. I've figured out the way where I haven't got to go work. I can make enough money to be comfortable, because I'm not really money driven. As long as I've got enough money to be comfortable, then that can be seen as a negative, but there's positives to that as well. But the match betting just led to me having a far too comfortable life, and comfortability is a killer. Like I was become a bit of a recluse, wasn't really going out much. Like I say, the social aspect had not completely gone, because obviously you've still, but it wasn't where I wanted it to be, and that was forced via work, of being stuck at home all day, every day. So like I say, that's where the oatcake venture started, just out of curiosity, messaging somebody to see if they had a job, really. And like I say, you've got to look for these things. You've got to keep trying to have the luck fall into place for you. Luck isn't really luck. It's through the more effort and more hard work you put in, the more luck will come your way, basically. And then, like I say, I worked for a couple of years within the shop, saw that this is a really, really good opportunity. Like the previous owner had it set up in a good way in terms of wholesale, but that side of things was already sorted for me. So then I could come in when I've taken over and concentrate solely on the kitchen and the hot food side of things. So as soon as we've got that up to speed, you're full flow then. You're full flowing ahead. You're looking at a good, solid, successful business. But again, I understand that that's not guaranteed. So it just requires continuous hard work to keep going, basically. And then there's hiccups along the way that slowly chip away at you. But again, you've got to just keep going and keep going, because for me, I'm not really a panicker or a worrier and stuff like that. But I take it on when other people are worrying. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
For example, let's say a grill breaks down at work. For me, that's not a massive problem. We can work around it. We can solve that problem. But for other people, that's not the worst thing that can happen in my day. But for some people, for the staff, when they're working and it's busy, the worst thing that can happen to you is the grill.
Yeah.
So that stress that they take on, I'm not very good at taking that on for them. Do you know what I mean? That's where I get stressed out, when other people are stressed. Because I like calm, and like I said, you see me rushing around, but that's for structure and to keep it flowing as we need it. Because like I say, we are really busy. On a Saturday, we can do 160 transactions a day, which is one every 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So that till is constantly going. And that was the main aim when I took over at first, was bringing into efficiency into the kitchens. And that's where my experience when I was younger come into play then, because I've done it for Cherry Tree is owned by a big company, Green King, who have got structure throughout the whole country. Every single pub's run the same, every single kitchen's run the same, and that works. That's what you need in a busy kitchen anyway. Can't really speak for smaller kitchens, but busy kitchen structure is absolutely essential.
Yeah.
People knowing where
I
they
mean,
got to be and what to do and what times.
I think I think consistency and structure. I think you hit upon a method that works. It's then just, can you replicate that? And can
repeatable methods. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, exactly. And it's that repeatable nature of business, isn't it? It's you're always looking for avenues and revenues and ways to expand your product line or your product range or whatever. But it's then, well, actually it works. So there's a scalability of it. So actually it works relatively small scale. So can we replicate that? And as we grow, is it scalable? And some businesses are and some aren't. There are some small businesses that will never grow just because of the type of business they are or the niche market they're in or whatever it may be. But I think you're always looking for that, the scalability aspect. But it's always about then keeping your structures and keeping your systems and your procedures in place and trying to be consistent with them.
And then obviously you're managing growth during that. And that I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but there's one worry that we had was, are we going to be able to manage the growth that's coming so quickly? Because you need them repeatable processes in place to be able to do it. And then obviously you've got, I'm one of them that puts myself in other people's shoes, and so I put myself into my staff members' shoes and their experience over the last 2 years. So if you go back 2 years ago, before I took over, they are experiencing very like regularity during the week. They kind of know what's coming, they know how busy it's going to be, they know, and then all of a sudden I'm effectively asking for double.
The
workload's doubled, but the pay hasn't doubled. Do you know what I mean? So I understand how that feels from their perspective, and to try, obviously there's things that you can do to try and work around bonuses here and there and days off here and there that you haven't got to worry about for your holidays, and just little tidbits to keep people motivated. Because I know when I was younger, I wouldn't have been the model employee, let's say, and I know how I would have been at that time. I would have been, hold on a minute, you're expecting double off me, and I'm not getting anything in return. So how can I make that a fairer deal, if that makes sense? And it's making everyone's lives easier at work, and that's through process. Now, that comes with challenge as well, because obviously change is difficult for people as well. When things are done in a certain way and then somebody else is asking you to do things in another way, that can ruffle a few feathers. And we experienced that early doors, because this is not a critique, this is not, but the cheese used to get, and this caused a bit of controversy on our online videos early doors actually, but Reese is clever enough to use it to our advantage, because he recognised that people noticed that they were putting cheese in microwaves, and it was pinging, and then that cropped up in the comments. So Reese was like, you want to use this to your advantage, basically hold your hands up and say, yeah, you guys are correct, we will convert to grilling all the cheese. Now that's something that I wanted to do anyway, but we've used the negative to turn it into a positive, and it obviously clearly working. And now again, it's difficult to attribute which one thing has led to now, but it's all these little things. It's improvement of quality, because that's what that is basically. But obviously then put yourselves in my staff members' shoes. All of a sudden, the thing that is their most common task throughout the day, putting cheese on an oatcake, is completely changed. And that can be, well, usually at first the reaction is, this isn't going to work, there's not enough time in the day. And it's giving people the reassurance, and hold on a minute, think of the time that you are saving from doing, you're reducing the steps effectively. You're putting an oatcake on the grill, you're putting cheese on top of it, you're not putting something in a tub, going to the microwave, doing all this. So you're actually making their lives easier, but because it comes across as change, it doesn't seem like that at first. So that's what most of my job is. It feels like you're not just running an oatcake shop, you're a counsellor and you're a support worker, and you're helping people get through times that they are seeing as tough. Now, because what I might not see as tough for me doesn't mean that it's not tough for them. Do you know what I mean? And I'm fully aware of that. Like I say, I experienced it for a long time, being in lower level jobs where I felt that I wasn't getting the support required from the people above me. I felt that, and so I feel that is very important.
No, I agree, and I think it's two ways, but there's also an element of trust. If you're trying to scale your business, then I don't know, down the line at some point you turn around and say, I have a second outlet, a third outlet, a fourth outlet, a fifth outlet, whatever it may be. You have to have an element of trust in those people that you are putting in those places, because you can't be there. That can't be you. You can't split yourself 5 ways, unfortunately. So there's an element of trust at that point of view, but also there's an element of trust in the staff that actually they need to trust you, because you're bringing in these new, we're going to grill the cheese now rather than microwave it. And there has to be an element of trust from them as well, that actually what you do in effect, and you're the boss.
I've noticed that is earned through successful decisions, though.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
When they see a decision that works, they go, hold on a minute, he actually does know what he's on about. He's not just making it up as he goes along.
Yeah.
Now, again, that's not a guarantee, but I say I'm adamant to everybody, like, look, if something goes wrong, we just need a little bit of accountability, because I will make mistakes. It's absolutely guaranteed that I will make mistakes. But the only way we get through the mistake is by saying, that's the mistake, hold your hands up. No, you're not going to get in trouble for making mistakes. Like, it doesn't that's not the way I work. But the mistakes are the only way. I come up with a phrase. What was the phrase? So mistakes are the battleground for improvement, or something along them lines. Like, they're so key to people's development. And one thing that I can say over the last 12 months is the improvement of every single staff member. I don't think they believed that they could do it, if that makes sense. But the improvement of them all is crazy, it really is. And now what was normal 2 years ago, what we're doing now is becoming normal for them. So it's just that you can't. People can be very tough on themselves, and if you just to be a little bit more positive to what the input that you're actually having, you're having a massive part of a successful local business for now. So keep doing what you're doing. Honestly, it's cracking work.
Well, I can tell you from listening to you, one thing that comes across to me above anything else you said is that you're passionate and that you care. And the key thing to that is, and it's really, really obvious, and it'll be obvious to our listeners as well, is that you understand the people who work for you. The hardest thing to sell to any worker or to anybody in any position, when they've done something the way that they do, we're creatures of habit. We like familiarity.
Yeah.
Selling change is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Managing people is the hardest part. No matter whatever your job is, I'm telling you now, I don't care what your job is, the hardest part is managing people.
It's the bit I've struggled the most with, I'll be honest, because, like I say, traditionally, I've mentioned it before, I don't worry too much about other people's business traditionally. Now, that sounds sometimes like say you don't care. It doesn't mean that at all, but it means that it, I get the most pleasure in life out of helping people. But you've got to come to me and ask me for help before I can actually give it you. Do you know what I mean? So I need to know about these things before I can put the work in to help effectively. And that's what I think where the message. So if you've got an issue with something at work, tell me and we can work around it. We're
Yeah.
never going to be, if you're struggling with something or you think something doesn't quite suit or something doesn't work, tell me. And there's been occasions where they've said it and I'm like, hold on a minute, that makes complete sense. Like, why was I even thinking that way in the first place?
Yeah.
And then we will, and I don't want to ever discourage people from coming up with ideas, even if the idea would. So the one I can think of at the top of my head was on the. So we've got like an oatcake machine which deposits the oatcakes onto the grill. And when I first took over, we didn't realise that one of the. Well, we did realise because the mix was dripping off the grill, but we didn't realise that there was actually a coin underneath the grill that was actually offsetting the grill slightly. So we
Right.
were going, why is this problem like? We don't even know what's happening. We don't even know what's happening. And we were getting frustrated and wound up before we'd even looked. And we lifted the grill up. We've seen it straight away, and there we're like, this is why we look into things first before we get
Yeah.
frustrated and wound up, because that effectively was over nothing. We've just wound ourselves up there for literally not looking like. And so, but what one of the lads, he was trying different techniques to catch the drips to make his task of cleaning the floor at the end of the day easier. So
Brilliant.
one day he found this slightly offset metal tray that was able to rest up against the back wall, but then had a lip at the front, so it was catching the mix. And it looked like it'd work until the end of the day you moved it and there's mix absolutely everywhere. and, and he's really wound up by it. So I'm like, but we've got to try. When we try something tomorrow, something different, and it works, we've nailed it then. We've never got to worry
Yeah.
about it ever again. You go through this pain now and it's actually good for you. Like, people don't think things going wrong for them is good. I think it is. I think
Yeah.
it's the thing that you need, if anything. Like, because that's where you learn the most. If you do
Yeah,
something
no,
wrong,
absolutely, and you know, I'm people are obviously regular listeners. In they know I'm in education, and you know, if you fail, it's your first attempt in learning, and you know, it's the first time you've done something, and as long as you learn from that, and then you don't continually repeat your mistakes, then you can move on, and it's about learning. And it's about creating, well, I say in my opinion, my management philosophy, you know, it's about creating a solution-driven environment. It's not, workers will moan. And look, if you run your business and you have people work for you and, you know, your line managing, you're responsible for and stuff, people will moan and they'll moan about their bosses. It's nature, it's human nature. You have to accept that. What you then have to get to a point is that you allow them to then be very solution-driven. So they might moan, but it's like, well, that's fine, but bring me a solution. So you can moan about it, and that's absolutely fine because that will happen. But bring me a solution. You know, don't just moan. Bring a solution to the table and let's discuss it. And let's see where that works.
It's because it's okay having a problem with something. It really is. But again, that's what I mean. You need to come and tell me about the problem before we can do anything about it.
But I would say that back to the staff and say, you come up with a solution. So rather than bringing it all to me, actually, you're the guys that are on the, you know, the work. You're the guys that are on the shop floor. You're the guys that are dealing with it day in, day out. If you notice an issue, actually almost put your brains together and allow the staff time to put the brains together to then formulate a solution that works for them. Because the solution you might put in place might not work for them because you're the boss and they're the workers, and it might not work.
And that way, the staff feel far more involved as well. And 100%. I want them to feel involved because, like I said, at the end of the day, we're a local business. And the staff are an absolute key part of what we're doing. You're never ever going to be able to do it without them. They need praise. That's what they need. And you've got, like I say, people are going to have good days. People are going to have bad days. We spoke earlier about consistency is the hardest thing to find. That's the same over a long-term period for staff. Like, people are judging it daily when you probably shouldn't judge it daily. You should judge it over the period of a year. Like, if someone's had one off day in a week, that can seem like a lot, But you judge that over the year, and it's only 3 times, and that is not a problem whatsoever. And again, it's how you deal with them sorts of things.
But it's having that emotional intelligence in order to do that. It's you as a boss having that emotional intelligence to be able to manage and handle that. But it's also the workers having that emotional intelligence to be able to almost compartmentalize that and think, actually, in context, yes, I'm having a shit day. Yes, I'm having a shit week. But actually, in the grand scheme of things, over context, over time, actually, we're in a really, really, really good place.
Well, obviously that can happen sometimes when we're really busy, and it can be like, oh bloody hell, we're really busy, and it's a good thing because it means we've got a job going forward. If you had to go out there and go try find a job now, you might struggle. Like one might not land on your doorstep, and you might be out there, you might be out of work for 3 months, and then what a busy Saturday that you were hating, you might be dying for that experience again. And like I say, you don't worry too much about the moment. That's what can feel stressful in the moment will soon be over. And we all feel it. Like, there's not saying that when we're going through you've had 6.5 hours of relentless, non-stop custom. By the end of it, I say I'm the same as you guys. I'm looking to go home as well. Like, I feel exactly the same as you.
You're done.
Yeah. And if you got to remember, I'm relatively new into this, and so I've never been a team leader in my life. I've always been. So I'm quite critical of myself. I could have done these things in the past, but I never wanted to, due to, let's say, I've worked in warehouses and I didn't really like. You're treated as a number. How many tasks have you done today? How many mistakes have you made? Beyond that, we aren't interested. And what I base my treatment of people on is based on my treatment there on how not to treat people. Basically, that was the key thing. Like, you don't treat people like this, so I never will. Like, because again, people, so the example was they were expected a 0.01% error rate, which was like 1 in 1,000 tasks, and that computers don't even work to that level. So how can you expect a human to? And then you're saying everybody is like a flat base of ability. People have got different skill sets. People have got different areas of strength, and the job as a manager or an owner is to utilize that, not to bunch everybody up in the same category and go, right, you all do the same thing, and that's that. Like, that's not leadership. Leadership would be to use people's strengths and negate the weaknesses. 100%. Just seems obvious.
Yeah,
it does.
I think, to be fair, like, to be successful in management, you recognize how you want to be managed. As long as you keep on top of that, it sounds like you are. I think you'll be just fine. I do just need to say, though, anybody who has Gaz on the fail acronym, it was 47 minutes and 51 seconds. Whoever's got him in the bingo. But I do apologize. But no, one thing I want to ask you, Dan, as well, because you said there about helping people a little while ago, and I wanted to just segue a little bit into some of the other things that you do outside of Kidsgrove Oatcakes as well. So I've seen you out and about. You've been sharing the posts about cleaning up these lovely places that we live. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved with that?
So there's a little bit of cheating going on. Our content creator is the same content creator for TS Domestics. So straight away, there's a common connection. And obviously that way, TS Domestics, the guy that runs it, Kurt, he owns Ravenous, so they started buying oatcakes off us. So it become a little partnership, that sort of thing. We supplied some oatcakes for their cleanups, and it started from that, really. And then obviously, it's very important, isn't it? It's the local area, it's where you live. You should take pride in where you live. You should at least care about where you live. And I don't drive, so I walk. So I'm seeing this all the time. And that's why we kind of took ownership of the alleyway behind the shop for cleaning up, that sort of stuff. But I want to have a presence in that sort of thing around the local area. And then we do other bits and bobs as well, like a few donations here and there. But that's not something that we go online and shout about, really. Like I say, I want to do that anyway, so I don't really want. I know I'm talking about it right now, this is the first time I've ever been on a podcast though, so we'll take the moment while we've got it.
100%. Yeah, I asked the
Absolutely.
question.
Yeah, hey, this is your platform. You know, chat away.
But yeah, that, like I say, it's something that we were back end of last year. We were getting in a right nice consistent pattern, and then a few hiccups behind the scenes at work led to me doing more shifts, so they dropped off slightly. However, the lay of the land is changing again. I'm getting freed up with a lot more time, so then I can focus on these more outside of work projects, let's say, because obviously looking to grow the business, looking to get involved with other people who've got the same ideas, basically. Because I've been around, speak to a few other local businesses to try and target Kidsgrove on a bigger scale, really. Because yes, we're having an impact, but we aren't going to be able to do it all on its own. We've got to convince more people to get on that and to care, basically. And we're doing really well in terms of convincing the younger people. And this is where I think it all ties in, the silly Postman Pat songs becoming a recognisable figure. And I think all this helps to that sort of message. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's something that we're looking to continue doing, something that we can carry on in a bigger and better way this year coming up. And we'll be doing more with TS for sure.
I think your community cohesion, your community responsibility stuff is incredible. You know, I don't think there's enough attention paid to it from local communities, really, and there's always more things that you can do. And
yeah,
you know, you get a group of businesses together, you being one of them. It's like, right, come on, let's go and clean up the local area. Let's go and do this. And, you know, between the hours of 10 and 11, you're back at our place and I'll give everybody a free oatcake or whatever it may be. And all of a sudden, it's that networking, isn't it? It's that it's that word of mouth, that networking that then grows your business.
Just an idea, just the local area of going to because we see the same. I'm not going to name any names here. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but we see the same sorts of takeaway wrappers around all the time. So go in and speak to them businesses to say, not blame them. Obviously, it's not their fault, but be aware that this is your packaging that is everywhere. Is there any sorts of responsibility that you can help us in stopping this from happening? Basically, you're never going to stop it. Like I say, you're not going to convince everybody, but if you can have any sort of impact, then you're doing something, aren't you?
Yeah.
Any impact is meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of reward and incentive schemes, and you only have to look at back in the day. You know, it's like, you know, recycling type thing when before that became a really big thing, and it's like, well, bring your bottle back and you get 10 pence off your next purchase or whatever. You know, there's lots of things that local communities, local businesses can do. And I'm not suggesting that. I don't know who it is you're talking about, but whether it's pizza places or takeaway places, Chinese, Indians, pizzas, whatever it may be, it's like you see pizza boxes. Well, actually, you know, just keep them, bring them back. You know, there's lots of things that you can do, but it's about raising that awareness. And it's a fantastic, Dan, that obviously, you know, you're getting yourself involved and you're trying to rally more people in the Kidsgrove area around to that way of thinking. And I think the more people that you can get, you know, and you've got your little community groups, you know, you've got like people like your round table and people like that do community-based projects and stuff. And it's about understanding where all of those little pockets of people are and trying to tie them up into a cohesive action, for want of a better phrase. But it's incredible that you're trying to do that.
Like having David Brent on the
honestly, I'm there. We're flying tonight.
Education's a big one as well, though. Like, I wouldn't mind trying getting a couple of the local schools and just having a chat with them. Just this is what we're doing. Would you like to come and help? And this is the reason why it's important, because education is the key one, and it's the key one for everything.
Yeah, 100%.
And a lot of if we go out and do a litter pick, 90% of the stuff is all the same. It's either Red Bull cans, fizzy pop, or beer cans. That's literally all it is most of the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can well imagine. Like you say, if you're pointing out to these businesses, you know, if you're going around and you're seeing these things, and their litter is a terrible advert for their business, isn't it? Really,
absolutely.
You know, it's a negative reflection on them, which they're not responsible for, which you rightly recognise.
They are not to blame. Absolutely not to blame. But I don't know. I just feel like there is some sort of responsibility there. I know if, let's say, we went and brought branded packaging tomorrow, so there's actual Kidsgrove Oatcakes name on our packaging. and I saw that strewn across the street, I'd be embarrassed. I don't know why I can explain why I would feel like that, but I would. Like, and I'd pick it up. I'd absolutely pick it up, and I'd do that now if I would go to the shop, and because obviously we're on a bit of a precinct area, like there's quite a bit of open space, and the wind can blow. Well, if there's rubbish outside the shop, I'll pick it up in the morning. Like we don't really want it outside when we're working, not at all.
No.
But like I say, if you just doing that, having people notice, even if a couple of doors down they start doing the same, you've had an impact. That is meaningful. Like it really is.
But it's about growing that philosophy, isn't it? And as you just said, you hit the nail on the head there. It's about, if people see you doing it, then you will.
People are much more likely to follow.
Correct.
There needs to be a leader.
You will inspire then other people to do it, and that's what it's all about.
And TS Domestics have seen that. Like, they've had an incredible rise through what they're doing. Like, and they're doing it on a serious level in Tunstall. It's very impressive. And they're getting through it now. They're turning that, like, they really are turning it around from a litter impact. Obviously, there's much more going on. But like I say, they're inspiring other people. They're getting companies up from London, getting invited down to podcasts in London. So clearly what they're doing is getting recognised. BBC News and all that sort of stuff have been in touch with them.
Yeah.
I heard them interviewed actually on 5 Live while I was driving into work.
Yeah.
I think might have been just before Christmas, I forget. But yeah, and that's great. And, it's wonderful that their name's out there, because actually they're doing something really, really positive, for that.
That's it, yeah. And like I say, they are going around to schools already and providing education that people need, and getting donations of litter pickers to these schools and these sorts of, because that can be a big impact for a lot of people. And when we first started doing them, we got donated a lot of stuff to keep up with doing them, and it was Staffordshire Council, I believe. So the council do want to play the part. Since we have been doing the alleyway behind work, I have noticed that the council have been doing it themselves a lot more regularly as well. So, like I say, whether that's for a good reason or a bad reason, I don't really mind, because the impact has been made and that something's being done. So I'm not trying to embarrass anybody or shame anybody, and we're not trying to make ourselves look good or make anyone else look bad. Just trying to have an impact on the local area that can benefit people, basically.
100%. And to be honest with you, it's a really positive message you're putting out there. And to be fair, I think you follow this podcast all the way through, this episode all the way through, rather. It's been a message of positivity in terms of the input that you've had. You've taken the negativity of your time in Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam or wherever it was, and you've learned from it. You've taken those experiences and you've learned from it and turned it into a positive. And I think that's a really, really good message that we're going to end this episode on, because we always wrap things up round about the hour mark, which is exactly where we are. But before we let you go, we need you to give a shout out to Kidsgrove Oatcakes, where people can find you, your address, and your website, which we will obviously add to the show notes for this podcast. So whenever people listen to the audio version, they'll be able to click on it and order some oatcakes wherever they are in the world.
Okie, no problem. So, Kidsgrove Oatcakes, we are 15 King Street in Kidsgrove. Near, if you go to Own Bargains and come out of Own Bargains, you will see us right in front of you. In terms of accessing the products online, we've opened up a website which is oatcakedan.com. That's something that we've done over the last couple of months, and on there you'll be able to buy VAT-packed oatcakes. What else do we do on there? We haven't got this is something that we're looking to introducing, actually, some new products to the website, but we'll be able to ship them out to you, like I say, VAT-packed. And that's it really in terms of where you can get our products. We're open 7 days a week. Monday to Saturday is 7:30 till 2, and then Sunday is 8:30 till 1.
Fair play. So listen, Dan, I just leave it to me to say thank you very much for freeing up an hour of your time.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, no, it's been a pleasure to have you. It's clear you're very busy, so we appreciate your time, don't we, Gazza?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, at the start, we always appreciate our guests giving up, their time to come on our podcast. And it's been an incredible podcast. It's been very educational, very informative. There's lots of learning points, and I just wish Dan, every success moving forward in his ventures, and I hope he continues to to hold that that philosophy of looking after people, looking after the community, understanding your workers, and that, because that is important. So from me to you, Dan, I absolutely applaud what it is that you're doing, and wish you every success in the future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Nice one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
See ya. See you later.
Thanks, Dan.
Friends around the mic, kicking back, alright. Day turns into night, podcast in the spotlight.